What's up, guys? So we are nearing the end of the unit. Today we're on 5.10, Consequences of Agricultural Practices. So here's what College Board needs you to know. You need to be able to explain how agricultural practices have environmental and social consequences. So for environmental effects of agricultural land use, we see pollution, land cover change, desertification, soil salinization, and conservation efforts in order to combat some of these downsides. For agricultural practices, we see things like slash and burn, terrace farming, irrigation, land manipulation, deforestation, and draining wetlands, shifting cultivation, and pastoral nomadism. So all of these also shift the way that landscapes look. So let's take a look at shifting cultivation. So this is practiced. We see this mostly in periphery and semi-periphery countries. So countries that are still developing or countries that are not fully developed yet. So parts of South America, Central and West Africa, and East Asia. And then here we see kind of part of this process here of what shifting cultivation looks like. So farmers cultivate the land until soil becomes infertile. So once they see that it's no longer producing the way that it used to, they have a fallow period or a period where they don't use that soil, and that helps that land to recover, and then eventually they come back to use it. So soil degradation if land does not have adequate fallow period. So if they're not allowing the land to rest and regenerate, then over time it's going to become less and less and less fertile. Then we have slash and burn agriculture. So this is a form of shifting cultivation, and this permanently alters the landscape. So first they cut down these forests, and then after that they burn the plants that are there, and that allows to create fields for cultivation. But that burning process, that ash, provides a lot of nutrients and allows better fertilization for the crops. This results in deforestation and soil erosion, right? Like they're literally deforesting. They're cutting down forests and then burning them. And half of the world's topsoil has been lost in the last 150 years. So our agricultural practices are absolutely leaving their mark on the landscape. We also have terrace farming. So we see this more so with subsistence farming in mountainous areas. So steps are cut into the sides of these hills and mountain sides. So that way they use that flat surface to farm. Sometimes these are water intensive crops like rice, which is pictured here. During rainfall, water floods through the steps without pulling out the plants or causing soil erosion. And this allows the land to be cultivated that would otherwise be non-arable. So it really is like transforming the land in order to make use for agriculture. Irrigation, this was like a game changer. So this is used to supplement rainfall by bringing in water from natural sources to farm fields through systems of canals, ditches, and other methods. This is what makes California such a huge agricultural spot. If it wasn't for irrigation, that would not be the case. Reservoirs and aquifers are used to draw water from, and it does absolutely impact our cultural landscape and results in the depletion of water sources. So, and that's something California is dealing with actively right now. We also have pastoral nomadism. So we see this more so in semi-arid and arid climates, and this is linked directly to subsistence farming. So we've gone over this term before, right? So herders move animals seasonally to graze, so they travel with their herd. This results in soil erosion and desertification, especially if they have like large herds. So this is a process by which formerly fertile lands become infertile. And it's typically a result of combination of droughts and also overgrazing. Next, we have draining wetlands. So wetlands are areas that are covered by water. So we see areas like that are swampy or marshes or bogs, and they're drained to convert into arable farmland. This is like the Netherlands is known for this. About 17% of the country's total land was reclaimed for farming and habitation. So that's super impressive. It unfortunately results in the loss of biodiversity. So those ecosystems that, are wetland ecosystems are literally drained. So there's no more habitat for fish, waterfowl, and mammals that thrive in wetlands. And it also increases storm and flood damage. So just because water's pumped out doesn't mean that it's not prone to flooding. So that is an issue that happens when you drain wetlands. So here we go, the example of the Netherlands. They've created a whole system of dikes. So this is a barrier used to hold water back. And polders, this is used to describe any piece of land reclaimed from water. So they use pumps to drain that land and to keep it dry. So windmills, that was like the thing, and also super closely related to people's imagery of the Netherlands. And now they don't really use windmills, like that's older technology, but it still is very much like a cultural icon of the Netherlands. So ultimately, humans modify the physical environment to suit their needs, and this shapes the cultural landscape. So in terms of environmental effects of agriculture, we have pollution. That's a big one. So often associated with livestock ranching for meat. So the increase in the demand for meat means increased animal waste, which means that these contaminants of bacteria and nitrates can contaminate water sources, can contaminate soil, and then can also cause illness. Also the use of herbicides and pesticides. These are chemicals that will then leak into soil, water, air, and then that runoff can create contaminants into water sources and also damage wildlife habitats. So that's difficult to control for farmers to control with runoff if it rains, and sometimes that's just an effect of it, unfortunately, and it does damage the environment. The use of fossil fuels is probably like the biggest issue, which increases greenhouse gases that contribute to climate change. So ultimately, our current agricultural practices are pretty unsustainable and have severe and lasting effects on the environment. Another one is soil salinization. So this is a process by which salts build up in the soil as water evaporates from the ground more rapidly than it is replenished. So this is just a result of farming. Salt interferes with the ability of plants to absorb water and strips nutrients from the soil. So then over time, we start to see less and less productivity from those areas that are becoming more and more salinized, and rapidly increasing as more land comes under irrigation and wetlands are drained. So this is something farmers have to be very cautious with. So here's one example here of more environmental effects of agriculture. And this images like this, I'm going to move myself here, of what water sources used to look like then and then now. There's so many of these that you all can look up online, and ultimately these are effects of our agricultural practices. Another big one is deforestation. We see this quite a bit in the Amazon and tropical rainforests, which are key to our stability, right? Our environmental stability. There's a rising demand that has led to the conversion of forests. So that includes logging, slash and burn agriculture, cattle grazing, commercial agriculture. Palm oil is a big one. So I also suggest looking at that Aspire to do. And then just results of increased greenhouse gas emissions, soil erosion, and loss of biodiversity. So these environmental effects definitely affect each other. Deforestation is something that more and more laws are trying to protect, but ultimately it's up to individual governments to protect that. And then here's a lovely little chart. I recommend you guys pause this and take a look at this, looking at the different types of agriculture and what we see here in terms of deforestation. So overall, increases to agricultural production have significantly impacted